Rainbow Warrior here, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to crochet a boho top, which can be worn as a bathing suit or as an undergarment. You can also adjust the length to crochet a crop top to something full length based on your preference. So I'm going to show you the materials that I'm working with. Don't forget to adjust this pattern to the materials you're working with as well as your body measurements. The yarn I'm using is Peaches and Cream in White. It is a cotton yarn and it is medium worsted weight. I'm using a size 4mm hook, which is smaller than the recommended gauge for this size yarn. As well, I'm going to use scissors and a tapestry needle to cut and sew my ends in. For this pattern, we're going to begin by crocheting 2 cups. We're going to start with the foundation chain, which will be half of the length of our final cup. So if you need to adjust your number of chains, be sure to do so. We're going to single crochet around this row, placing 3 in the top stitch and for all remaining rows, and then we're going to follow with a double crochet row. Then repeating the pattern of 2 single crochet rows followed by a double crochet row. As I work, you may notice that there will be gaps in my cups. However, I do fix this in the pattern, so be sure to follow that step. If you are uncomfortable with working double crochet in this cup area, then you can just work a cup of full single crochet. I have a full-length tutorial on this, so be sure to check it out. You can click on the link in this upper corner here. And if you are a beginner, be sure to check out that link as well, because I'm going to be going pretty fast through these steps since I have shown a full-length tutorial on how to crochet these cups. Start with a slip knot and placing it on your hook. I'm going to begin with a foundation chain of 10. This creates a length that is half of the length that I want for my cup. So if you're working with a different size yarn, please adjust this length and number of chains. Once I have my foundation chain, I'm going to chain +1 and single crochet in the second chain from the hook. The single crochet, reach in and pull through a loop, then yarn over and pull through both of those loops. So we're going to single crochet in each chain space all the way down our foundation, and we're going to place 3 single crochet stitches in our last chain stitch. There's 1, 2, and 3. And this is our new top stitch for the increase in our next row. And now single crochet along the opposite side of the foundation chain, and I'm crocheting my tail into my work as well. My first row is completed. We're going to be placing 3 stitches in our top stitch for every row, so mark your top stitch if you need to with a stitch marker or another strand of yarn. For my second row, I'm going to chain 3 and turn. Now the chain 3 normally counts as the first stitch, but in this pattern there will be a large gap in your work, so I'm going to double crochet into this first stitch. So yarning over, pulling through a loop, yarning over, pulling through the first 2 loops, and yarning over, pulling through the last 2 loops. So this will count as 1 stitch. Our chain 3 is not counting as our first stitch, and we're going to continue to double crochet along the row until we reach that top stitch or our center stitch and place 3 double crochets in that same stitch. There's 1, here's 2, and 3. And continue double crocheting down the row until you reach the last stitch. Don't forget when you crochet back around that this chain 3 is not a stitch. Again, we're doing this to prevent a gap from occurring. There is a little bump, but to me that is much better than having a gap, especially in this area of our top. Now that our second row is complete, I'm going to start a single crochet row by chaining 1 and turning. Our chain 1 counts as our first stitch, and I'm going to single crochet in the second stitch and all the way down. I'm going to repeat the pattern of 2 single crochet rows followed by 1 double crochet row until my cup is large enough for me to wear. Once you're satisfied with the width, it's time to crochet along the bottom edge, placing 1 single crochet in the single crochet rows and 2 single crochets in the double crochet rows. There's a single crochet row, so I'm going to place 1 single crochet, another single crochet row, placing 2 single crochets in this double crochet row. Now that I've completed my cup, I'm going to cut a medium length tail of yarn, and I'm going to use this to connect my 2 cups together. So make sure you cut something long enough to make a chain. Once your yarn is cut, repeat these steps to create an identical cup and keep your yarn attached. And you can of course sew a lining into your cups if you wish. I know double crochet stitches can be a little more open than single crochet, so it may not be an ideal stitch to use in a cup. If you wish, you can of course leave out the double crochet for this section and make cups using single crochet only. You can check out the full tutorial for that. The link will be in the upper corner, so beginners, that is there for you if you need it. Once you have both cups complete, it's time to connect them, and depending on how big these cups are and your measurements will depend on how much space you need here. You may just need to slip stitch them together, or you may need to make a chain, depending again on how big they are and your size and your measurements. So I chained 2 and then slip stitched to the other cup in order to join. And to show you, again, I used that tail that we cut at the end of our cup to chain 2 on the side here. And now I'm going to enter the corner of the other cup, yarn over and pull through all the way to give a nice solid join. And we'll crochet over our tail here for our next row. Now it's time to begin crocheting the body of our top. So keeping my yarn attached, I'm going to make a chain from the corner here, and this chain is going to be our strap. So it will reach around to our back, and you want to make sure that you don't make this strap too long because you want to be able to lace up your top from behind, and you don't want these 2 straps to overlap in the back. So be sure to use your body measurements as well as your double crochet gauge for the yarn and hook you're using to determine how many stitches you should chain. Once your chain is the right length, you can cut your yarn and pull through, and we have the first chain for our strap. We're going to do the same thing on our other side. So we're going to attach our yarn, reaching our hook into the corner and pulling through. And now we're going to make a chain of the same length. For my straps, I chained 15. However, I originally chained 20 and made my straps too long, so I had to go back and adjust the number of chains. The reason why I'm telling you this is because it's not only important to measure in the beginning, but to check measurements as you crochet as well, so you can easily fix things. Once you have the necessary chains for the correct length, we're going to chain +3 and begin double crocheting in the 4th chain from the hook. So again, yarning over, pulling through a loop, yarning over, pulling through the first 2 loops, and yarning over, pulling through the last 2 loops. And we're going to double crochet for our first row. So we're going to place a double crochet in each chain space down this foundation chain, and we're going to continue double crocheting down the chain until we reach back to the cup, and then we're going to double crochet along the cup, along these chains, and I will show you how to crochet your tails in as well as you go. Then we'll double crochet across our second cup and our second chain. And this is going to be our first row. Here you can see I've reached back to my cup, and I'm just going to simply continue double crocheting onto these bottom stitches. I am holding my tail close to the stitches. That way when I crochet, my hook is going under the tail and I'm locking it into my work, and I don't have to worry about sewing it in at the end. When you reach the space between your cups, place 1 double crochet stitch for each chain you made, and if you just slip stitched your cups together, then you're simply just going to continue crocheting onto your other cup. Now beginning to double crochet across the next cup, crocheting this tail into the work as well. Continue double crocheting across this cup until you reach the second chain and place one double crochet in each chain space across. For our second row, we're going to begin our mesh stitch. We're going to start by chaining 4 and turning our work. This chain is going to count as our first stitch. We're going to skip over the second stitch and double crochet into the third stitch. This creates our little window. Repeat the pattern of chain 1, skip a space, double crochet in the next space, and repeat. So chain 1, skip a space, double crochet into the next stitch. So a really simple and easy pattern, chaining 1, skipping a space, double crocheting into the next space. And you're going to continue this all the way down your row until you place a double crochet in the last stitch. To start the next row of our pattern, chain 4, and turn, and now double crochet into the double crochet stitch from the previous row. Chain 1 and place a double crochet stitch in the previous double crochet stitch below, and repeat the pattern. So very simple, chaining 1 and placing a double crochet stitch in the last double crochet stitch. And as you can see, this gives us our windows and our mesh pattern. Repeat this pattern all the way down the row until you get to your original chain 4, and then you're going to place your last double crochet stitch in that chain 4. Repeat row 2 of this pattern to reach your desired length for your top. I'm going to crochet 4 rows of this mesh stitch, but you can easily alter the rows to get the top that you desire. You can crochet along the edge as well to neaten up this top. However, I'm going to just leave mine as is because I think it looks great, and I'm going to keep this pattern pretty simple. The last step is to create the straps as well as the ties, which I'm going to just simply make a chain for my straps, and for the tie in between I'm going to just use a long piece of string to weave it in between my cups. There are lots of different ways you could have created straps. For my top, I made a very long chain using my yarn. I wrapped it around the 2 top stitches of my cup, and then as you can see, I am using double, so I made sure that this chain was double the length that it needed. It goes over the shoulders and I crisscross them. You can of course decide not to do this as well and just let them go straight. And then I weave them in and out between my mesh stitches, and then tied it in a bow at the bottom. And it's really important that if you're using cotton yarn like me, that you make adjustable straps because cotton does tend to stretch and change shape. If you're interested in doing the weave like I did in the front, you're just going to use a strand of yarn and weave it like so. Taking your tapestry needle, insert through the opposite side and then come back up, skipping a stitch on the other cup. And then repeat this process. So skip a stitch, enter through the next stitch, and then go over to the opposite side, skip a stitch, and come back out through the stitch. And again on the other side, going into the stitch on the opposite side and coming back out on the other side. Entering into the stitch and coming back out through the stitch on the other cup. So there you have your corset weave in between your two cups. This of course is optional if you would like to include this look in your design. Another option is to include beads on the end of these ties. As well, you can include beads on the bottom of your top. Here is the completed look of my top. I really enjoy this design and I hope that you like this pattern. Please don't forget to adjust the pattern to your body measurements as well as your preference for your top. You can leave me any questions or comments down below and I will do my best to help. Thank you so much to the viewer who sent me this request. If you would like to send me any pictures of requests, you can send them to me on Facebook or Pinterest. As well, you can tag me on Instagram or Tumblr. The links to those social media sites will be down below in the description, as well as the link to the written pattern, which will include measurement information as well as materials used. So please check that out if you need further information. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the pattern, subscribe so you won't miss out on future videos, and hopefully I'll see you in my next tutorial. Thanks for watching.
What are you doing? What are you doing, girl?